I don't know about you, but I have really been looking forward to this meeting tonight. I tell you what, I have come with the expectation of learning something. This is going to be a fantastic meeting. I tell you what, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Let's take care of a few preliminaries, and we'll introduce Dave. I want to give him as much time as he needs tonight, especially all you new people. I'll tell you, this is fantastic. And for all you guys who have been afraid to pull the trigger, and for all of you who have told me, I don't know where I'm going to get the money to do the first deal, listen, there's a bright spotlight shining in tonight. Okay? And you're going to see that. So, let me ask you, how many new members do we have here tonight? Or this is your first time at KCIG? Wow. Scott, my hat's off to you guys for all the promotion and inviting people out. Thank you so much. I tell you what, this is a fantastic audience tonight, and thank you so much for coming. One of our goals here at KCIG is to provide value for the members and to make you successful, to give you the tools, to give you the opportunity to network, to provide the venue for your success. That's one of our critical points when we talk as a board and we get together, is how can we add more value to our membership? What can we do that will put, at the end of the day, give them the opportunity to put more money in their pocket? So, you guys coming tonight, I tell you what, you won't walk out of here disappointed with what you hear tonight, I promise you. Now, just a few preliminaries here. Is Polly Jones here?
No.
I haven't seen her. Is Becky, Shay, or Michelle? Okay. We're going to be putting a survey on our website, and I was going to have Polly promote the website. As a member, there are so many things that you can do. She's a much better talker about this than I am. But there are so many things that you can do as a member on the KCIG website. You can list your business. You can post your deals. You can blog. You can ask questions. We have a real estate attorney. You can write a real estate question. We'll submit it, and it'll be in the next newsletter. There are so many things that you can do that would be so advantageous for you as a member. So I really want to promote that. But we're going to be putting a survey on the website, and that survey is going to be have questions on there about what you like, what is important to you. Because that's what we want to provide for you. What is important to you? And then there will be some questions on there about why you come or don't come. So we're in the process of putting that all on there. So coming up with the right questions. So I just want to make you aware of that, so that when you see that on the website, I really encourage you to use that form, fill it out, give us feedback. Or if you just want to do like I do sometimes, write a note and give it down to Marcus, myself, or Cindy, or somebody on the board. That'll work too, but I really want to promote the website there, guys. So, the Saturday networking event. How many of you are familiar with our Saturday networking event? Good. A few hands. Would you guys say it's worth the time and effort? Yeah, thumbs up all the way around. Yeah. The Saturday networking event, it's posted on the website. It's the first Saturday of every month at a different location. Becky Shea and Michelle Herman are the two ladies that head that up, and they answer to me and kind of get all that stuff lined up. And it's informal. There's no agenda when we meet. So after we get coffee, and usually for me, I've got to have a muffin or something to kind of get some protein or something. Well, that's not protein, is it? That's carbs. I got my protein and carbs kind of mixed up, but that's okay. Get something in my system, okay? Yeah, there we go. Then we sit and talk about what's important to you. It's no set agenda. You ask any question that you want. How to do this, or how do I fund that, or how do I do this, or how do I get this thing going, or how do I write this contract? We've talked about a myriad of things. Marcus, when did we start that?
About 3 months ago.
3 months ago. So that was our third one. And I tell you, it has been phenomenal. It's a pleasure for me in an informal setting to sit down in a venue and just talk with you one-on-one. Marcus feels the same way. We've got, the Saturday networking event is well worth your time and effort if you want to use that as a time to build your network, an informal time to ask questions. It's a perfect time. Let me also promote, Marcus, why don't you come up and talk about cash flow for just a second? I know that's the last Wednesday of the month.
Yes.
And
It's the Wednesday after. You told me I didn't have to do anything today. Test.
that was spur of the moment.
So I do host a cash flow game every month. It's always the Wednesday after KCIG, and we have it at a new location this month. It's going to be at 2005 Burlington, down in North Kansas City in Suite B. So how many people here are not familiar with cash flow or know what I'm talking about? So quite a few. Okay, so cash flow is basically a game that Robert Kiyosaki created back in the 90s to get you to think about money differently. So it's a powerful tool that you can use to basically use other people's money to buy houses, right? In a game form. So you can kind of let loose, get rid of some of those cautions and concerns you have about buying property, and basically get out of the rat race. So it's another networking event. It's a lot of fun. There's no charge to you, and I provide all the drinks and the location and everything. So you're more than welcome to come down and play with us.
Did you say all the drinks?
Okay. There might be a few adult beverages there too. So, the address is 2005 Burlington, down in Northtown. Suite B. Yeah, times. That would be nice. It's from 6:30 to 9. So it's kind of like Monopoly, right, on steroids. So, but it's a lot of fun. We have a good time. So you all are more than welcome to come. I also host a weekly show called Doom for Success. It's on doomforsuccess.com. And really all we do is we just utilize Google+. And we talk about real estate, the market here in Kansas City. We talk about, success principles and all those things that we need to learn, like on the inside as entrepreneurs to be successful. So, and there's no charge on that too. It's just kind of my way of giving back and bringing value to you guys. And you can just go to doomforsuccess.com, click on the Watch Live button, and there you'll see me talking. And sometimes I have guests on, and it's a lot of fun. So,
Thank you. How many here would like to get out of the rat race? It's the time to raise your hand. Yeah. You better have both of them up. Okay. So, who would Bernadette? Where are you? I was talking with her earlier, and we were talking about success. Now, I know success is a journey because when you reach one pinnacle, then there's always the next pinnacle. So, I'm not saying success is a destination, but here's my definition of success: is doing what you want, when you want, and with whom you want. Anybody else in that boat? You like that? So that means if you wake up one morning and you roll over and your significant other is there and you say, hey, let's go to the Caribbean today. Or, hey, our kids are in California. You want to surprise them? We'll just go out and fly out to California. Would you like to do that? Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to back up, rewind, and re-say that and see what kind of if I get a better response there. That was a little bit weak. Now, before Dave comes up, I want to make sure that you guys are all primed and excited about what we see tonight. So, how many of you would really like to live that definition of success? Okay, good. Yeah, let's clap. Yeah, clap if you would. All right. Do you believe? Well, okay. That's a topic for. I was going to say, do you believe you could do it? But that's another topic. Okay. How many of you would like to get more involved in KCIG? By that I mean, we as a board are looking for people who are like-minded, like the board, thinking outside the box, who are excited about KCIG, who are active real estate investors who really want more, to learn more, do more. But there are opportunities within KCIG to get more involved. And for instance, Michelle and Becky mentioned something about a Saturday networking event. That's how the whole thing got started. So they brought it to us, mentioned it to me, and I said, look, would you gals be willing to head it up? That means picking the location, setting the time, and that's all really about all it involves, and then getting with Polly to post it on the website, and then just letting me know how it goes. So there are opportunities to help us build our membership. There are other opportunities within the KCIG network here, things that we need, are looking for people to get involved. And I tell you what, it's an excellent opportunity to rub shoulders with people who have succeeded. You know, it really is. So anyway, keep that thought in mind. Now, I'm really glad that you guys are here tonight. Because when Dave Williams gets done speaking, you guys are going to have a whole new way of thinking about how to tackle real estate. I promise. Here's a guy who has been where you are, has succeeded, a guy who is on your side. Here's a guy who is here to help. Sure, he's in it to make money. We all are. No different than if I have a property under contract and I wholesale it to Jim. I'm looking to make a little bit of money, but Jim's going to make money too. So it's like, Jim, I'll help you. Can you help me a little bit? So here is a guy who is on your side. Has got a company set up that thinks outside the box. How many times have you heard somebody up front here talk about this whole business is learning how to think outside the box? That's what it's all about. Because if you have conventional thinking, then you can go get a job and just settle for $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Work there 30 years and then retire and hope that they're still in business to pay you the pension and all the money that you put into there. So, it's thinking outside the box. Here's a guy that does that. And has put some stuff together that is absolutely dynamic. So I tell you what, without further ado, I want you to put your hands together and welcome Dave Williams and give him your full attention. Dave.
I talk with my hands, so they pretty much of my. Please. Thank you. Let's see if I can figure out technology. Carl.
Small button. Ah, got it.
Okay, that woke everybody up on this one. Is that going to work? Excellent. Thank you, David. I appreciate the nice introduction. Now, after all those kind words, what do you want me to talk about? So I'm going to take a minute of your time and show you something that's near and dear to my heart because I had my screen up earlier and a few people asked. So I want to show you something here. That's me. 65 feet down off the south shore of Hawaii in a place called Kona Landing. I was diving with some friends, and it's a common dive site. And so the sea life is very familiar with us. We had dolphins playing with us, you name it. It was a lot of fun. And an octopus is coming towards me. I mean, right at me. Okay, I'm nervous when that happens. But I stuck out my hand and it runs right into it. And I turn to get my buddy's attention, and I feel this thing starting to do this. By the time I got their attention, voila. So this octopus is sitting on my head, and I'm with good friends. So instead of getting it off my head, I have 50 pictures. And I know they're down there signing to each other. And then they finally got it off. I was trying to do it, as you see, but it has 8 arms. I have 2. Not a winning proposition. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life. I didn't need to comb my hair, gel my hair, or anything for like 2 weeks. That's their product. Slimy. Okay, so obviously that's a passion. And I am technology challenged. I'm a lender. I don't know how to work computers, so bear with me. As David said, I am one of you. I still do rehabs today. I do it now out of the fact that I'm a recovering rehabber and I just can't get out of it. It's kind of like one more drink. But we started back, I used to be in corporate America. I got out of it, thankfully. As Scott would say, the ankle bracelet was taken off. I got into rehabbing with 2 partners. We did deals for a number of years. I started out with my own private portfolio of money. I was one of those. Well, I just go pay cash. Quickly, I realized I didn't have a lot of money. Then ended up moving into private equity at the time. Before I was capable of really raising money, I didn't have experience or knowledge or anything like that. And I moved into hard money. My hard money lender was a doctor. So he was intimately familiar with rehabbing properties. He would tell me everything I was doing wrong, and he never did one. Kind of annoyed me, but it is what it is. It worked. I got my deals done. And what I ended up evolving to was I went to they have these things called REI clubs. And I went there one night. Never do that. I went there, and a friend of mine came up to me and said, I got a deal. He goes, but I can't get a loan. My lender actually, his lender as well, won't lend to me because he says it's not a good deal. I said, okay. He goes, will you partner with me? Well, partner, that would be like walking up to a vampire with a cross. I don't like to partner. I mean, he was a good friend, which makes it definite I won't partner with him. And so what I said is, I would lend you the money. And so I said, what do you being charged for your loans? And he told me. And I said, great, I'll do it. And I actually did it for the last. But so I became a lender that night, purely by accident. And I found out I liked it. So I didn't give up flipping. I haven't probably talked to me in 10 years, and I still won't give it up. But I started lending. That was in right around 2000 time frame. Our best year as a flipper, we did 67 properties in 1 year. Now, when I say we did, I don't swing a hammer. I don't lay tile. I don't know how to do that stuff. I'll leave that for people with skill. But we managed. We bought, acquired, and sold in the 1 year. Since then, I've had the privilege of doing thousands of loans for real estate investors, for you. Okay, people just like you, people of all skill levels, people that had no skill at all as their first project. And I've got to see through my learning curve, and yes, I've made more than one mistake in the last 13, 14 years now, but I've got to see what everybody else has done as well. And when you work with us, I know when we talk, I'm going to have you tell me, this is a good deal, but I did this wrong. So I put that away, and I build a knowledge base. And part of what I bring to my borrowers and my friends that use me is some wisdom. So when they run into deals, or if I see something in their deal, immediately I say, did you do this? Did you think of this? What about this? Well, there's a lot of those going on. So what I ended up doing was I created this as a theme of what I've seen, what I've heard, and what you guys need to be aware of moving forward. Does that make sense? So there are 5 common mistakes. And, well, there are more. These are the most common. How many of you guys have been flipping for over a year? Okay, cool, quite a few. And you come to hear me. Thank you. Do you realize that's 99% of the flipping process as a whole? What I'm saying is most people make mistakes through the process. And not glaring, not life-threatening, sometimes life-threatening. But overall, there's components of every phase of rehabbing that can be built upon, streamlined, improved, systematized, whatever you want to use. Number 1 issue, value. How many of you bought a deal in the last year? How many of you have been dead on in your pre-evaluation to the appraiser? Michelle, you're lying. I've seen your numbers. No, I'm kidding. It's really hard. We're going to go through that. Repair costs, go through that. Deal analysis, we'll go through some systems and thought processes you should be doing. And I created a very simple deal analysis model to show you guys. Maybe it'll add to what you're using. Paying too much? Yeah, that's easy. But paying too much is the easy one to avoid. If you've done the other 3 correct, you can't pay too much. Right? Because you wouldn't buy it. And lack of a backup plan. And then I've got, I don't know, there's 103 slides in here, so we'll be done by about 11-ish. But we're going to start off with valuation. You've heard the old adage, if you buy it right, that's when you make money. Now, there's truth to that. It's not the whole truth, because there's a lot of phases through the rehab model where you either make or lose, I know that's a bad word, lose money. But it is a critical component in which your deal analysis has to start on. I get calls from a lot of people, and I won't point anybody specifically out. Okay, well, maybe I will. But anyhow, that will call me and say, I'll say, what do you think it's worth? Well, Zillow says, Yahoo has it listed, Truly I have. And I say, yeah, okay, great. What do you think it's worth? Because while those are data points, I don't even know if I want to give it that much credit. I'm trying to figure out how to be nice. So we're all adults here. It's crap. Okay? Don't look at it unless you want a picture of the house. Okay, and then use Google Maps. It's much better. They have no reliability to the numbers. You know, originally they were set up as a way to get homeowners to come in and get motivated about what their house is worth and sell their house. And they sold those leads to realtors to call them to sell their house. Okay, that's all it's for. It's a marketing tool for the real estate industry, not a value-add tool for real estate investors. The reason we use it, we can hit it from our phones, from iPads, from desktops, PCs, whatever. We can get to it fast. But bad data quickly doesn't really help you in most cases. I mean, I can almost guarantee if you tell me it's worth, if Zillow says it's worth 170, that's what it's not worth. Right? I mean, have you seen that? There's one true source for data. MLS, Multiple Listing Service. It's a database it's databases that are used nationwide. There are sources that you can buy subscriptions to, like CoreLogic, which is the backbone or the infrastructure to most of the MLS systems nationwide. If it isn't their name, their subsidiary companies own the MLS data and they compile it. But the real source to get accurate MLS data is the realtors, the appraisers. I have access to it. I'm not doing your pre-valuations for your offers, but get people like that that can actually get in there. Because tax assessor data is their estimate on how much tax they want from you. It's not what it's worth. They figure out their budget. They divide the property tax and the property values so they can get their budget hit. And that's an exaggeration, but that's about how much it's worth. Zillow is assessor data as well. They'll go back and search past history of what transactions have sold for, but it's not net. Would you agree that if a house is assessed at public data shows $200,000, and you know in a particular geographic area it's all FHA home loans, would you believe there are possibly seller concessions in that area? Up to 6%. Would it be logical then to assume, as a general rule of thumb, if you're using assessor data, that that house net sales price is $188,000? Right? So you can automatically start deducting off the public record. MLS has all that in there. We get bottom line numbers to get real values. I used to go through, and if it was an FHA area, automatic 6% taken off the top. It was just, even if I didn't have to do it, because it was my cushion, right? If I could sell for 6% more, that's a bonus, but I didn't rely on it. So finding quality realtors, appraisers, valuation experts. I met with William. Where are you? William's back in the green shirt. William, and this is not meant for a pitch for him, but he's a very bright guy. He has been doing valuation BPOs for Bank of America, for Fannie, for Freddie, for a couple of other key players in the industry. He did 2,000 of them last year. And we sat outside and talked about valuation. The guy knows what he's doing. That's a key component to this. And he's willing to share it too, so talk to him if you have questions afterward. He's a great guy. But so valuation is going to be your key component. The other thing you should not let yourself do is become emotional in this. This house is 150, this house is 150, this house is 150. Your house is going to be 150, right? I can't believe how many people tell me, but I'm going to do more. Mine's going to be worth more because I have this plan. How is it more? Don't get caught up in that, especially from your initial due diligence, your valuation. Don't be optimistic on the front side. Be pragmatic. Okay? Because all that does is you're, in essence, lying to yourself about what your end asset value is. And if you're doing that, the rest of your numbers are wrong. And it skews what number is really important, which is net profit. Right? So keep that in mind. Values, comps, everything's based on comparables. Common stuff, this should be all part of your current model, and for some of you it's not. Split to split, like for like. What I just said, this house and this house and this house are all the same, that's what this house is. A ranch is not valued in the same model as a split, right? Now, you could take a ranch to a 2-story and do some adjustments, but splits are kind of a unique, a creature of their own, if you will. So when you're pulling comps, split to split. Sold within 90 days. Why? Why is 90 days? Anybody know? Current market trend. Thank you. Exactly. If I go back 9 months and pull comps, do I care what houses sold for 9 months ago? Doesn't mean that's not the same economic time frame as right now. What's happened in the last 9 months? Right? So you can't do that. I mean, you can't go back. I was talking to this, I'll just say person, yesterday. Engineer. He ran a 10-year analysis of property valuation in a neighborhood that he's working on. He had a term for the chart that, I'll give you this. I'm not an engineer, so I don't understand it. But he told me, based on trends and cycles over 10 years, in one more year, so we were at this. I gave him Mike at Longhorn's phone number. Sorry, Mikey.
You never called me.
Damn, I'll give you the number again. No, really what we're looking for, though, is current environment. And then we're trying to do some strategic wild, anybody know the term swag? Anybody don't know the word swag? All of you? Strategic, wild, yes. And so we have to take the most relevant data we have, which is what's happening now. Now, if we happen to know something's going to be happening different in 6 months, then we need to consider those things. Listed. Don't worry about listed. Do not worry about active. Do not worry about withdrawn. Values. Ignore the price tag. The data you want to apply to it is days on market. If a house has been listed for $150,000 and it happens to be on market in a cookie-cutter bread and butter neighborhood, which is where most people invest, and it's been sitting there for 423 days, is that the price? No. But you see that, right? All that tells us is, again, what the price isn't. We can use that data, but we have to use it for another reason. Don't use that data and, again, lie to yourself and thinking that's what you're going to sell it for. Withdrawn is also the same. That's when people have listed it and dropped it to where they reached a pain point and just said, I'm done, and pulled it. If at any time that price would have came down to the right price, it was sold. Because the real value of real estate is exactly what somebody will pay you for it today. That's how you value real estate. That would be like me saying, what's my offer on my gargoyle sunglasses? And somebody says $5. You're not getting them. But I paid $140 for them. They're not $5. But they're worth $5 if nobody else in the room will need it. Right? That's how real estate works. Unless you do auctions, because that drives people nuts and they overpay. Comps. If we go, again, I don't know the streets here and all that stuff really well yet, so bear with me on this. If I say something stupid, just laugh and blow up. Let's pretend we go on Metcalf, the 130th. I think there's a development out there. And we get the value on the properties there. That's where our property is, and there's one comp there. And we look, and we can't find anything, We go up the road 2 miles, and on the opposite side of the road, there's another subdivision there, and they're painted the same color. And we use those comps. Does that tie together? Now, KC is interesting because you guys can actually pick a house on this side of the street, and you can't use comps over here. And that's a whole different thing you guys got to deal with. I mean, I'm still not sure what that means. Colorado, we're easy. There's 3 towns. You don't lend it. Everywhere else, go for it. I like simple. But anyhow, so comps, same subdivision, half a mile distance. Because you want it as tight to your subject property. That's what that market gives you. No major streets. Don't cross them. Period. I don't care if it's right across the street. Those can be totally separate demographics. It could be different school districts, for example. School districts affect value, right? It could be county taxes, property taxes in one county more than another. Okay, there's a lot of reasons for that. That's why you dial in tight. In this model, you're a sniper. You're shooting a target with one bullet, and that's all you want. Now, for purposes of initial valuation, and William actually agreed with me. Wow, thank you. I always took the highest comps and threw them away, and I took the lowest comps and threw them away. Now, if it's an REO, you're not going to compare that to ARV anyhow, but I mean lowest finished property. Throw them out the door and peg that center spot. Okay. Excuse me. So that was my way to get to that average value. Why do I want to do that? That would be low, right? If I threw out all the high comps, then my values would be lower. If I plan on doing a deal, and let's pretend the high comps are 200, the low comps are 150, and the average comps or the middle comps are 180. If I plan that deal around the 180 sale price, knowing there's a potential upside, and I sell it for more, that's a good thing. I make extra money. If I only sell it for the 80, I've already planned on that. I did not lose. So I always hedged my bet. I wanted conservative projections in which I based my projections on going in. Now, the other side of it, I mean, I get people going, why want it to appraise for 200? Because then I don't have to bring any money in. It's not bad to put money into your deal. Okay? You want it to appraise, you want all the data to be as real as possible regardless of the end result. That makes you money at the end of your project. Will you be adding square footage? Will you be adding beds and bath? And I actually learned something. And correct me if I'm wrong, please. I was talking with William again prior to this, and we were sitting outside talking about how I do evaluations, what my beliefs were, and then I'm talking to an expert. I was trying to justify what I do. Here, this is a question for you. Here, if you have a neighborhood with the same exact houses on it, and you have 3-car garages on 90% of those homes, and the one you're looking at has a 2-car garage, what's the hit? 10%, 30,000. William?
I usually do about 15.
For a 1-car difference in a garage, it's 50. Marcus was wrong. I'm going to point that out all night. I hope you don't mind.
Only 5,000.
I said 15 was correct.
Think about that. I asked him the same question about a bath, a 3-2 versus a 3-3. Does that verbiage make sense to everybody? 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I asked him, what about the bath? He goes, 10 grand. Hits the value. Now, I also believe you guys do not need to know, nor should you spend every waking moment trying to figure out how to value a property. There's a reason I make that statement. I think you need to spend every waking moment finding a deal. Okay? That is where you make your money, is finding deals. What you need is somebody like William or Marcus or Michelle that gives every number right.
You didn't ask me how many.
You hit it once. I hit a bullseye once one night throwing darts after 7 beers. That doesn't make me good.
Well, you phrased the question.
Who invited you? Oh, sorry. What you need to do is you need to align with people that know how to value it, but you need the intelligence and the business savvy that when they give you a report, you can look at it and determine if they did it right. Does that make sense? You're not going to make a living off of learning how to read an appraisal. Okay, so get with good quality people that you can trust. Talk to them. It's not hard to figure out who knows something about value and who's winging it. Okay? Ask them if they log into Zillow regularly. That's a good thing. Okay, so those are things that affect value. Let's do one more piece, and this is critical. What about the property can you not change? What are geographic, what are architectural stigmas? This is a beautiful little house. He's not here tonight, so I can use this. I used it the other day. He saw it, and he's like, hey. I don't torture all my borrowers, just good friends. He is here. I don't see him. I won't look directly at him if I do. Look at it. It's a bread and butter, split, 2 car, easy, generic house. He was actually getting it. Looking at this picture, he was getting it for a very good price. I know all the details, but again, I'm not going to do that. And I got this off of Google Maps. I like Google Maps. I sit in Boulder, Colorado. When you give me an address, I can see it with you. It also makes it so I don't have to leave. Then I click the satellite view. Yeah, he is here. I saw him. Hey, how you doing? I click the satellite view, and it backs up to I-70.
You got a golf course across the street.
I'm sorry?
You got a golf course across the street.
Also, it's a resort property. Oh, well, hell, that's 20 grand up.
Up the hill, you don't see it. You look straight down.
Highway access. I'm done. This is something you can't fix. You cannot move that highway. It has an effect on the value of the property. It has 2 effects. It has an effect on the value of the property because it's stigmatized, but it has an effect on marketability of the property. You have 6 kids, for those of you that want to start your own community. I'm picking on Michelle again. And they're out in the yard playing. Do you want them to be able to run into that highway? Do you want the semis driving down I-70 at night as background music while you sleep? They're stigma. Can't change it. Non-curable stigma or challenges. I use the word challenge because I guess it's politically correct. Busy roads, intersections, power lines, railroad tracks, meth. You smiled when I said meth. Now, meth isn't actually a non-curable. Meth can be cured. Ask me how I know.
It's rehab, right?
I'm sitting in my home office. My partner, Paul, nicest guy on the planet, calls me and says, I got this house. We can get it for this. It's a total gut. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, the good news is the tear out, it's been done. I'm like, sweet. There's something off my budget. That's all I do. I'm just the numbers guy. I'll tell you if I buy a house from my living room or my patio. And we talked about it for a little while, and he goes, what do you want to do? I said, buy it. So we bought it. We got a great deal. It's from the city. After we bought it, one of the few exceptions, he said, I want you to come see this, because I don't really like to go looking at houses. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go see it. We get to the house. It's a split. Actually, it wasn't that house, but it looked like that house. He gives me the lockbox code and says, you go first. I want you to see this. This is cool. I hate my partner. Anyhow, so I open the lockbox. I open the front door, and I step in. It's one of those where you go up 5 steps or down 5 steps. You have this little pad. From that point in the house, I could see every corner of the house. I could see the rafters. I could see the basement. I could see the holes where the HVAC used to be. I could see the nails where the wiring used to be. It was a meth lab. Dave almost needed a jump start here. And the good news was he didn't lie. The tear-out was complete. When you do a meth lab, everything goes to stud. They had 8x4 sheets of plywood laid across the flooring so you could actually walk into the house. Wasn't nailed down, it was laying there. I mean, I could actually just do this and get from the top floor and go, oh, basement, it's got a crack. I mean, you could see everything. So I freaked out. I learned a valuable lesson. They can be cured. We sold that and made we made a great rate of return on it. I mean, we probably made about a 45% yield. We've done 3 since then. It can be fixed, but you got the stigma. You got the remediation from the state, the certifications, all this other stuff. But ladies, do you want to move your babies into an ex-meth lab? You have to know about it. You have to disclose it. So that's something you guys have to talk about. Megan's Law, I don't know if you guys have, actually I heard you really don't have it here. That is, well, they do have it in Texas and they have it in Colorado. Megan's Law is a convicted pedophile list. If you've been convicted of a child-related, we'll just say crime, you're on this list. In Colorado and in Texas, I have to disclose that a known pedophile lives, and it's within a mile of your house. Again, parents, you want your kids in the neighborhood.
You can't get away from it.
I beg your pardon?
You can't get away from it.
I know. I know. But as we said, they also affect the stigma. That said, if you decide for some reason it's the only house in Kansas City listed in the MLS and you want to buy it, steal it. I mean, so cheap. They say feel dirty about your offers. Don't feel dirty. Feel suicidal about your offers. Okay? Offend everybody. And then don't call me to finance it. Okay? Those are things you just don't need. There's plenty of inventory out there. But people need to look at that. Perceived stigma. You can see I got a wiggle challenge. Mold, structure, water, fire, which I forgot to put on here. Now, depending on the level of fire, there are additional disclosures you have to make to potential buyers. So that might border. You hire professionals to give you those answers. I look at those 3 things, especially these 3 things. To me, that's a cash register. Because 99% of rehabbers will not touch those. That means I get to steal it. I don't have to offer against everybody in the community. It's a big job, but you hire licensed professionals to do it. Everything's just a cost. If it's going to cost me $10,000 to fix it, I tell the seller it's costing me $15,000, and I'm still willing to buy it. The fact that 50% is my buffer. Big jobs run over budget occasionally. If it doesn't, I make $5,000. So keep those in mind. I wouldn't run away from them. I would say if you've never flipped a property before, you might not want to tackle this right away. If you've done deals, when I said that it's a cash register, I saw like 6 people go, Don't necessarily be afraid of it. It's just a different scope of work you guys have to work with, but there's profit potential. Okay, based on all that, just pick the value. What I mean is you've gathered a bunch of data, you've got comps, you understand the neighborhoods, the trend in that neighborhood. And what you're going to do now is stake the value. Again, I talked about don't overinflate, be realistic. If you think it's between 180 and 190, work all your numbers on 180. You can't go wrong if you're on the low end. If you're on the high end, it can cost you $10,000 in that range, right? So always go to the low end. And understand you're never going to be right. William's not going to be right. I'm not going to be right. I can get 4 appraisers, all giving me different values, and none of them are right. What it is it's based on data. We're making an assumption of what the property was worth. Again, the only way we know for sure is what will somebody pay retail. What makes it even harder? It's not even what it's worth now. It's That's what it's worth then. If we had the 8 ball, none of us would be here tonight. We'd be on our own little private island somewhere, right? I mean, but we have to dial it in and be conservative to start our process. Any questions on valuation? Anybody awake? I put a giggle. Okay, so let's go on to scope of work. This is the other component. A scope of work is not a budget. Everybody understand it? Scope of work is simply a list of what you need to do to this property. Need being a key word, not want. This is almost a Lisa rule. Lisa is my wife. God bless her. When I first started doing rehabs, I asked for input once. And so we bought this house, and she's like, so what are you doing? I said, well, let's go look at it. We walked in, and she said, oh, you can do this. You could put a big window here, put a nice stained glass door coming in. I would do oil rub fixtures all over the house, and travertine would look nice, and then you can get some custom granite. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why did I marry her? But she walked in thinking, if I lived here, this is what it would be. Which is not what needs to be in a rehab, right? So what we want to do is we want to look at all the neighborhood. If the rest of the neighborhood has 1-car garage, do you need to try to tear out a section of the yard and put in a 3-car garage? If all the neighborhood is laminate flooring in the kitchen, do you need travertine? No. Right? So we're just trying to identify what needs to be done to bring it to, and I always like to take it 1 notch above all the competition. Just 1 little notch. That's enough to sell it. Especially if that 1 little notch is an emotional thing, not a value-add thing. So you start with your scope of work. Once you've identified what needs done, you go get contractor bids. You get 3. The reason is not so you can pick the cheapest. Some projects require you pick the cheapest. But if you have to do, now I won't say that if you got 2 guys at 40 and 1 guy at 95, you pick the 95. Okay? But what I'm saying is the quality of work, the time of work is important. It's actually more important than the price tag as long as all things are relative, close, right? Because you're relying on that person to do the job because you're not the one doing it. But you get 3 also because I always get input. If you get a contractor that's done 100 rehabs for investors, some of them will actually have ideas. You'll be walking them through, going, I want to do this, I want to do this. And they might go, what did you think about this? And they may just throw something in, or they may go, you really want to do that? I've done 27 houses in this area, and nobody does that, and they all sell. And you're going, that was $1,700. Yeah, you're right, I don't want it. Right? You get input. So if you do 3, you get 3 pieces of information in which you can review your budget with. You can also get designers, not spouses, don't do the spouse thing, but get input from maybe even if you know another successful rehab. David will probably go out and visit all your properties with you. He's nodding, but I won't tell you which direction. But get input from, if you know somebody that's done a lot and they're qualified, you know they're turning properties and they're really active, they have a good pulse on what needs done. Say, hey, Greg, if I buy you lunch, will you look at this with me? They may not, but if not, bribe them more, buy them a dinner. I don't know. But get input, because that, especially new, there are tricks to doing improvement that you need to know, and you know through experience. Go shopping. What I mean by that is, we need a new roof. You want a quote. We need 6 piers to level this foundation. You want a quote. I don't mean go pick out outlets, right? Those are ancillary. You'll find in every budget, there's probably 5 items. Appliances, which should be an automatic. You guys should all know which appliances, what their SKUs are, and where you buy them. but there's like 5 items that make up 95% of your budget. Those are the ones you want to dial in, whether it's quotes or whatever the case is. I don't need to go buy it. Just price it to make sure your logic is sound. Don'ts. Don't over-improve. Without redlining or picking on particular areas, we have neighborhoods that don't really have garages, but they have like 12-car parking lots in front of their house. You know, the high-end neighborhoods, right? Those neighborhoods do not need granite travertine, right? If we go over to, what's here? Good neighborhood, Mission Hills? Can we get away with laminate and vinyl? Don't over-improve a property, but make sure you're bringing it up to the standard of the area in which it's in, right? You know, there are things like you would do from a entry-level home to a move-up, because people move up because they want something better, but they're not moving into Mission Hills, so you got to do some things, but that's kind of a measure depending on your value band, your asset you're buying. So, but just don't over-improve. Don't spend on quality. I'm not talking about being a lipstick on a pig kind of rehab. I'm talking about the $70,000 home with pillow windows. Most people buying a $70,000 home are happy it has windows, right? So you don't need the bats. I don't have Pella in my house. So that goes for several different things. But don't get tied up on bit better and better, because that is not a value-add model. Don't under-improve, what we just talked about. Scope creep. Any contractors here? Will you forgive me in a minute? Okay, you got to commit now. Okay, so when you get contractor bids, what's going to happen is the contractors are anxious. Well, first of all, only get bids from contractors that are anxious. If they're too busy to work with you, you're not going to get the best price. But they're anxious to get the job. So you're going to get some consideration. And if you've done a good job selecting your team, they're going to give you the best deal possible. However, if they start down the road of rehabbing, and you walk in on Monday and go, oh, you know the entranceway from the dining room to the kitchen, make that arched. See, what if we just built this out a little bit? Put a nice little tabletop on here. That would be cool. I've seen more people pay more money on change orders than they have on the entire budget to do the house. Because guess what? The contractor has the job. You're not going to choose different contractors. Your pricing model changes. Scope creep changes. I have big issues with that. I'm that guy. I mean, I've walked into houses and walked into the master bath. That closet here, master bath, 3/4, shower, toilet, sink. And it's a $400,000 home, right? And it's like, that closet's huge. That bathroom's small. That wall, 2 feet this way. Tub, shower, now, go. And Paul sits there and goes, oh. I just spent $4,000 on a whim. I'm bad at that. Most people are bad at that. Create the scope. Don't change it unless it 100% makes sense, right? So, and again, scope creep will cost you a fortune. Value-add improvements versus marketability improvements. One adds value, one strikes emotion. Okay? Value-added improvements, to me, if I invest $1, do I get $1.25 back? If I invest $1 and get 75 cents back, that's a bad investment. I mean, if you were guaranteed to buy IBM stock today for $100 and tomorrow it'd be worth $75, would you do it? If it was guaranteed to be worth $125 tomorrow, would you do it? I would buy all I could eat. That's the way an improvement works as well. Marketability is the emotional thing. When people walk in, what will make them go, wow? For me, what we did in our mid-value band houses, so older houses, in our area, All the new homes are rounded corner drywall and knockdown texture. One of the reasons they do it is we have shifting soil. It's easy to patch. The older homes are all flat. Finished drywall. In certain areas, people accidentally slip and put their fist through walls. Settling. A variety of other reasons, right? Those walls, to get them perfect, is expensive. You walk into a house, I do this because of how many times I've been in houses and what I do with them. I walk in and I'm looking to see what's going on in the house. My wife can be at the front door, and upstairs in the back corner, there can be a crack, and she's going to tell me about it before she gets up those stairs. Yeah, see what I have to deal with? But anyhow, those kind of things to me was like, that makes no sense. I'm paying somebody for 3 or 4 hours to finish an accidental punch in the wall. Every house we did, texture, knock it down, and spray it. It cost me $1,500 on average per house for a 1,500 square foot house. I did it on every house, whether it needed it or not. That was my improvement. Why? KB Homes was selling the same price point of homes, brand new. When you walked into their homes, it was all knockdown texture. Then you go look at all these other houses, especially the lipstick on the pig kind of rehabber. What I mean is doing the bare minimum, just trying to scrape by. And they're all priced here, but they know they can't afford the brand new one. And then they come to mine and go, wow, this is kind of like that new one. It was that emotional thing. I made more than, I know for a fact, by spending that money, I made money by all the money I didn't spend on carrying costs, taxes, insurance, etc. But that was me. I'm not saying do that. That was one of my marketability pieces. What adds value? Kitchens, bathrooms, extra bedrooms, garages. I said maybe. I wrote this before I talked to William. It's definite. 15 grand, that's a lot. Livable square footage. The one that really doesn't make sense, but is true, is curb appeal. It's an emotional value add in a lot of ways. When you pull up to a house and you look at it from the outside, do you know what it's going to be on the inside? You assume, right? You pull up to a manicured yard, that's private ownership, everything's painted. I've talked to appraisers over and over on this. I tried to get their idea. And they said, you've really done, I can't change the value, but I look at the property a lot more optimistically. He goes, when I go into a property, if I have to pull off condemned signs and boards to crawl in, I've already determined that inside's disastrous and everything in there is going to be worse condition than it really is. Unless you're a bank appraiser. It's okay, laugh. Thank you. So that outside, that initial emotional feeling when you pull up to a property will help justify that sales price. Now, I'm not saying you got to go put in massive water features, but make it a pretty home. What doesn't add value? Viking appliances in a $70,000 home doesn't make sense. Okay. Viking appliances in almost any home make no sense, depending on your bankroll. High-end carpet. Carpet's carpet. It's like color windows. High-end tile. Imported Italian marble versus porcelain. Ceramic, right? They might make you feel better about the job you're doing and the finished product you have. They don't increase the value unless it's in that house that requires it. Well, in that house, it doesn't even increase the value. What it does is not detract from the value by doing it. Quality paint, Sherwin-Williams versus the lid, I don't know, whatever those paints are. High quality trim, solid mahogany trim versus that cardboard that they press together with glue and paint it white. Same net effect in cookie cutter homes. Higher end homes, your finishes are higher end. If you're flipping $1 million homes, throw all that out, deck it out. Okay? Granite does not increase value. Agreed? wow, the only person that's argued with me on granite since I got here is Scott.
Depends on where it is.
Depends on the price of the house.
Granite never increases value. It increases saleability. It raises a property to the current environment. But for the cost per square foot, you'll never get your money back. You get that emotional. The lady walks in, and some of the guys that are in the kitchens, I mean, I know how to eat them. They walk in, wow, cool. That it doesn't change the value. It's that emotional tie. So, and that's a big expense in a lot of cases. I'm not saying don't do it, but be aware of why you're doing it and have the proper expectations surrounding doing it, if that makes sense. Okay, with all that, build a budget. We know how to take all of our costs in Excel, list them out, hit AutoSum. That's kind of your budget. Take a contingency. If you're 100% sure that to fix this house will be $15,172, come explain it, because you need the buffer in there. I brought a triplex, and I was overly concerned about this from the beginning. We bought it, we did a sewer scope. Because it was really old and it was a gravity furnace, I don't know if those are even still around in most places, and I'm not familiar with gravity furnaces, they have to explain it to me. I decided to have an exception. There are big oak trees in the yard. And, sewer scope. Why? Big roots, right? It's not that much money, have it done. We went into it, we're good. I had my repair budget. I was all set to do all this stuff. 3 weeks later, I get a notice from the city. In Denver, I think they're lying to me. In Denver, once they transfer property, the city comes in and scopes from the outside in. We can't do that. We go from the inside out. My view, it's a big tunnel. There's nothing in it. Their view, in the alley, 18 feet down, in a black-topped alley, the initial 6 inches, there's a T. And it disconnected. And I thought, well, okay, go fix it. It's in your alley. It's my problem. $3,500 to dig up an alley, to fix a sewer pipe, to fill the alley back in, and they let me blacktop it for them. You need a contingency for surprises. If you don't spend it, it doesn't mean you lose it. A contingency is just like a piggy bank, right? A slush fund. In my case, a gambling fund that nobody knows about. But it's just there. But if you need it, it's your safety net.
But on your homeowner's policy, they have a percentage, I think it's 10% for city ordinances for things like that.
Good luck with that.
Did you not have that?
Oh, I have insurance.
But did you
Oh,
have that
let me
city ordinance?
rephrase that. There's two different things about insurance. One is buying insurance and one is collecting from insurance. So there's a couple problems. One, 2 doesn't happen. 2, if 2 happens, 1 becomes very expensive. With the number of properties I buy and sell, if I just decided to really go after them, I could have got $3,500. Well, I probably wouldn't. I'd have gotten something back. But I guarantee you in the next year, I've spent $3,500 in insurance. Okay? A lot of those become business decisions, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's like somebody owes you $500 if you sue them. You spent $12,000, but you won. But now you've got to collect.
A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, I know. I understand. Yeah. So I mean, there are those exceptions. Joe?
Do you have is there a relationship as far as dollars and your contingency? How do you build your contingency?
With swag?
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
When I build my budgets, I've always used 20%. Now, I'm not that talented. I know I'm going to make a mistake. I put 20% of the slush fund. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't go anywhere. If I don't spend it, it's profit. For the 20% of the budget. In our budget form, when you work with us, and a lot of you guys have already submitted deals, in our budget form, we've got a 10% contingency. So it depends on you, but seasoned people normally go for higher reserves. It depends, again. Two things that never belong in a budget. Viking appliances for $2,000. Because I know a guy who works here who's going to give me a good deal. If he doesn't work there anymore, nobody else is giving you that deal. I know a guy that's going to lay my tile and only charges 50 cents a tile. He's probably not going to be around. Throw out there, I know a guy, get a real contractor bid. I'm going to do it myself. No. Can't do it yourself. If you're doing it yourself, you can't do everything else you have to do to get the property done. Okay? So don't count on those items. Get real numbers because, God forbid, you're going to do it yourself. You walk out of here, maybe you know I'm accident prone. You walk out of here and you break your leg and you're on a truck couch for the next 3-4 months. You're not in there climbing ladders and fixing it. Then you have to hire somebody. Plan to hire somebody. Doesn't mean you can go in and do some of it, but don't plan on it. Right? Again, safety. So we got all that put together. We do a property deal analysis. How many are scared of trying to analyze a deal? Okay, now some of you are like, one person was honest, thank you. A lot of people make this sound really scary. It's not. It's a simple analysis. So I decided that instead of just saying that, I was going to whip one up. I spent 3 minutes creating this thing. So a lot of thought went into it. So I want to go through that with you. But again, set the proper expectations for flipping. Everybody in here want to hit a home run? Yeah. Anybody in here willing to hit a single? Yeah. Do you think in this given market, highly competitive, and finding deals, you will hit more singles than you will home runs? Yeah. Anybody have an idea of how much money they're going to give up until they hit that home run if they don't? Think about it. You could do 10 deals a year pretty easy, and if you only made 10 grand a year, and you didn't do them because you wanted to make 50,000 a project, you get to do a deal next year, but you gave up 100 grand. There are more singles out there. So set the proper expectation. I had a guy the other day told me he wanted to make $50,000 on a deal or he wasn't going to do it. And he was trying to flip a $70,000 home. Again, I sound like. No, you have to have proper expectations for what you're going to make. Doing that, having that before you start doing your deal analysis will help level set you. Before we go to it, what do you include? Everything. Closing costs, purchase costs, carry costs, rehab costs, sales costs. If you're going to hire a designer, that. If you're paying a wholesale fee, that. Whatever you're doing, if it requires you stroking a check, it goes in your analysis. Now, let's see if I can do this without breaking everything. Can everybody see that? Good enough. Real easy calculation, nothing too tricky. I'm going to assume for this that the ARV, the after repair value, once it's all done, it's going to be $100,000. Now, I will give you a caveat. This is based on my lending platform. Okay, so all the numbers here are based on what we do. You would have to make adjustments if anybody, for some silly reason, didn't want to work with us. Okay, but for what we do, this is how it works. Acquisition price, buy costs. In this model, closing costs, insurance, loan costs, appraisals, inspections, and I always have an other. Other is just, if I'm writing a check, it's going in there, no matter what it is. So that's $5,200. Carrying cost. On my, and I had this conversation right before, our loans are 9-month interest only loans. Now, we do offer a free 3-month extension, but I don't want to rely on that extension. I base it on 9 months. What if I can sell it in 6 months? I base it on 9 months. If I sell it in 6, I save 3 months. If I don't plan on it, and I have to pay 9 months, it affects my bottom line. So, and that would be an assumption based on your days on market. Taxes, even though you're not paying taxes in most cases on a rehab until you sell, I build it in. It's a cost. It affects your net. Because when you sell it, you're going to give it credit for those taxes. Insurance, most of it you're doing up above. Utilities. I don't know if you guys can get away with what we get away with, so I threw in the utilities in there. Colorado does not turn off the water or the electric. When I have REO, or foreclosure, they never turn them off. But the day that it becomes an REO, the billing stops to the bank because nobody's in there. And I'll be damned, no matter how much I try to remember when we buy that house, I never remember to contact the utility companies. And I try. I don't know if you can do that. And I'm not saying cheat anybody. Rehab costs. For this purpose, we're just going to say our budget was 20 grand. Whatever it would be, it is, right? You put that in there. Sell costs. Realtor fees. Oh, by the way, I was told by several people that it's more than 4%. 4% is what we pay in our market to sell a house. So you put your own multiplier in there. Again, you don't want to be pillaged on a realtor fee, but you don't want to be so damn cheap that they don't want to sell your house, right? And there's also a strategy. I'd rather have them really cheap, but pay them a good performance bonus if they do it quick. And whatever you decide to do, adjust for it. Seller closing costs or seller credit, I always do at least 3% if it's an FHA community kind of property, always 6%. Just from the get-go, even if I might not need to pay it. I did loan costs twice, red asterisks. In our program, they're rolled into buy costs, so they're rolled into the loan. There are other lenders that will promote 0 upfront in closing costs, but then they throw it in the back. And typically, whatever is charged up front, if you're a backside payer, it's double. So if I charge 4, people that defer to the end charge 8. So wherever you're paying it, put in your budget, right? So in mine, it's actually double. Don't worry, I'm not charging you in loan costs twice. Unless it's a performance bonus. Staging, I like to stage. I think it adds a lot of resale marketability to it. Plug it in. In this case, your cost for your ARV was 84. Your cost was, your ARV is 100. The cost was 84.6. You have a net of 15.4. So in essence, you have a 15.4% margin. I didn't do an internal rate of return or any of those calculations. A, because they don't make a lot of sense. Whereas you do those calculations, if you're working with a lender that requires a down payment and you have to put a lot of money into the game, then you have to start worrying about a rate of return on your investment. But from a pure flip model, it's just a margin game to me. And I always had a baseline. What am I willing to work for? If that number says 3,000, I'm not going to take the risk. Right? Because it's too risky. All the work you have to do, all the rest doesn't make sense. If it's 15,000 on a simple little $100,000 home, that's not a bad spread. I can do 10, 20 of those a year. I'm okay. It works, right? So you would determine your base for what's an acceptable number. Under this model, this is the only sales pitch I have involved in this presentation, so don't panic. The ARV is 100. And I'm doing this because I get a lot of questions on how this works. The ARV is 100. My maximum loan amount is 70%. So my loan amount on that is $70,000. I lend against ARV. Is that what you're kind of questioning? Okay. The acquisition cost was 40, your buy cost was 52, and your rehab 20. Under that concept, your cash to close with us is 0. Actually, it could go up from the 65.2 up to 70, and it would still be 0. Your monthly carrying cost is $975. That's your payment. That's all that's required. Likewise, if your budget is now $35,000, my maximum loan amount is $70,000. The total cost of your project is $80,200. You would bring $10,200 to closing to fund the escrow account. Make sense? Excellent. But that's all you need to do. Well, okay, in that case, let's see. The net profit is $400 on a $100,000 deal. That's not even a fund. So that goes out the window. But there are deals that still become very profitable at that point. So if you build something like that and enter your data and make sure you're not lying to yourself and put in everything you can think about, you can have a good baseline. And then what you do from there will affect your real net if you start doing all those things I said not to do. But if it's 15, so let's say it's 400, this is not a deal. This is a great neighborhood. Excellent neighborhood. It sells in 21 days on average. It's sold on 21 days on average for the last 3 years. Great school district, just down the street, beautiful park for the kids. I know this thing will turn out good. Change your price. You know what? I can buy it for 30. You got all your costs in there. Figure out what you need to make and back into the number. Right? You can use the tool both ways. So create something like that gives you a baseline. A lot of people have these tools out there. Some of them make them sound like they're worth thousands and thousands of dollars. I'll sell you this for $100. No, I mean, you can get some really good tools out there. So find one that actually works with what you guys want. That goes into the paying too much. You see if you had all those numbers filled in and you automatically see your return potential at the bottom, how easy it is to identify whether you're paying too much. You're not cutting your budget, right? If it's really going to take $25,000 and you only put in the bare minimum amount to bring the property to par, you're not going to change it to 20. Because if you do, what happens to the ARV? That's a hard cost. You're not going to beat your realtor up because you want them to earn a living for working with you, and in turn they're going to help you. You're not going to beat me up because you want the same for me. Your only variable in this whole deal, and title, good luck with changing that. The only variable in the whole deal is purchase price. So I'm under contract though, and I've had several people here call me and tell me this. I'm under contract, the deal isn't going to work, can you write me a letter to get me out? Yes. Dear Mr. Seller, my borrower is a moron. Please return his earnest money. Come on. Now, sometimes you have to get out, and I'm more than willing to do that. But that's their first alternative. Run. What's a better alternative? Change the offer. I'll tell this story. A good friend of mine is Chinese. He lives here. Actually, he's probably more American now at this point in his life than he is Chinese. But he's really good at being Chinese. And what I mean by that, I can't do Chinese accents, so bear with me. But it's just I don't understand. What? I don't get what? And he plays this part. And their culture, and he's taught me a lot, but I don't look Chinese, so I can't really pull that off. His culture was get the deal under contract and then negotiate. And I mean that, he does it and he does it with an art. I love the guy. He'll come to the seller. He does a lot of direct buys without everybody else. I'll give you $100,000 for it. Acceptable? Yes. Sign here. Great. Here's my signature. Here's your copy. Here's my earnest money. I need to pay you $92. And to me, I'm sitting there going, I feel dirty. He goes, it's okay to feel dirty. You can change your offer at any time. And it's a lot of your profit and a lot of your success will be, A, how comfortable you are with doing that, and learning how to change your offer. Especially if you're working directly with the seller. It's really hard to get creative when you're going to your realtor, to their realtor, to the HUD agent, to the manager. Just tell your story. You can try. I say try. The way you do it is you write it out. You write a well-crafted letters why you're doing it. But if you're dealing directly with the seller, you have to learn how to have the conversation to change your offer. Yeah, Jim, I feel really, really bad. I want the house. I told you from the beginning I want it. I did my research. The rehab on the house is going to cost $10,000 more. Based on that, I don't think I can honor my commitment. I feel really, really bad. The only way I could do it is if, and I even kind of hate to say this because I want you to think I'm one of those guys, would you consider taking $10,000 off the offer price? Things like that work. But most people are scared to death. I mean, they'll come up with Jim, I want to buy it, but you can't do that. You've got to figure out how to learn that technique. And there's David and those guys can help you well with that. Changing the offer is good. Sometimes you can't do it with HUD. Sometimes I would change an offer before the close because even if they said no, they felt better. You ever sold something and immediately after go, I could have got more? That's terrible. Everybody that sells something feels that. So I'm doing this as a caring individual. I'm going back and making them feel better. You give me $3,000 off. I'm really struggling now to make this work. Even if they tell you no, they're happy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So don't be afraid of this. Backup plan. Oh, we got 2 hours. Backup plan. Rehabs don't go as planned always. Some of you will say they very seldom go as planned. This was my sequence for exit strategy. Did I offend you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very popular.
Okay. If I couldn't sell it retail within what I wanted to sell it for, I went to private investors I knew with the turnkey rental. And I was willing to bargain with them. I'd given to them what I had in it, and I wanted a cut of the deal as long as we helped. I wasn't going to make my profit now, but I wanted to make it over time. That was always plan A. Plan B, slash and burn. I've got 82 in it. It's for sale at 82. Sometimes 80. It's just better to get rid of it. It's okay to take a loss. Anybody that's ever been in the stock market, you know that. It's not preferred. And refinance and hold using my credit. How many loans can you have as a landlord, as an investor? 4? 10? Yes. Fannie now is 10. Freddie now is 4. Freddie will copy them. They kind of copy each other. How many of these mistakes can you afford? Right? You don't want to tie up your credit completely. So that was always my last resort. None of these should be addressed when you wrote the check for the last dollar in your bank account. You need to figure these systems out before you go in so that getting out isn't extremely painful. Right? paint, this is a fun business. It'll drive you nuts, but it's fun. People make a great living at it. We all keep doing it, so we must be enjoying it for some reason. Don't let surprises throw you guys into a tailspin. That last strategy becomes the first strategy if you're trying to become a landlord. Anybody in here want to own rental property? Okay. One or two? Oh, I thought you said you were done with that. Okay. Some people are done with that. And it's okay. You can structure, if no one going in to a transaction, you've got to start structuring how you're going to come out of that transaction. In a buy, rehab, and hold model, you need to tell me that's what you want from the very beginning. And I'll give you some options on things we can do. You can do what you want, but we need to do that. This is not a should be, this is a must be done in advance. I can't tell you the number of people when I say, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to sell it. Well, what if you don't sell it? I'm going to hold it. How are you going to hold it? I'm going to get a loan. Great. What's your banker's name? Haven't found one yet? That's not an exit strategy. It's an entrance strategy to bankruptcy. It needs to be prepared. Okay? With that, I apologize if there are any mortgage brokers. Go to a bank or a direct lender. Only. Not to say when the time comes you can't use your mortgage broker. There's nothing wrong with using a mortgage broker. The banks, most mortgage brokers don't know all the guidelines. Banks do. It's very important you understand the guidelines associated around the loan you're going to get. Is there a seasoning requirement on the property before you can refi? Anybody not know what seasoning is? Yes? Okay. So seasoning simply means the amount of time you've owned the property vested in your name prior to them willing to do a refi. So some banks, Fannie has a 6-month seasoning period now. So if you bought, no cash out is key. If you bought it today, you couldn't refi with them to appraised value for 6 months. I think Freddie is still 12 months. Maybe not. Again, you talk to the bank to find out what's current because they change their mind more than anybody I've ever met. Right? LTV. Both Fannie and Freddie guidelines, and that was what I meant by a direct lender. They're the ones that originate directly from Fannie and Freddie, are 75% of loan to value based on new appraised value for a no cash out refi. So what I'm telling you is if you're going to do this, you've heard me say no cash out a few times. If you have $100,000 and you go buy a house for cash, and 6 months later you want to do a refi, they're not going to do it. They won't give you your money back. They'll trade debt instruments, but they are not giving you money back. Their seasoning requirements on that are much longer. Your LTV, your DTIs, your LTVs, everything about that loan changes. And you've got to prove you don't need your money to get it. That's kind of how that model works. Vacancy, they're going to take a vacancy rate into place. And investing. Do we all understand investing? Yeah. So get to understand what you're going to be faced with when you're doing that exit. Because then you know we can put the plan in place to go to that. Because you're going to come to me and we'll say, what's the LTV? You're going to say 75%. Okay. And how long do we have to hold it? We're going to go through this process. Build your analysis. Yep. Build the analysis just like before, and we're going to use the same exact model. A little bit better? Same exact model, same house, 100K ARD, acquisition 40, buy costs, I think I had that at 20. Buy costs, and I grade out carrying costs, and I'll get back to why I did that in a minute. And there is no sell cost, right? You're not selling it. You will have some refi costs, but that's different. Your rehab budget of 20, but your cost for the project at 65 too. Right? Same as last year. Do you need to fix it up to the same level if you're going to rent it? So it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Half? We'll go with half for this. Your cost for this project is $55,200, I apologize. My loan to you is $55,200. You're not paying cash. I'm a lien holder. I'm a licensed lender. It appears as a first lien, just as if Bank of America had that loan without all the mud that surrounds Bank of America. Okay? So, when you go to refi, they see that lien. Your cost to refi is about $5,800. I assume 2%. I don't know what you guys pay for a loan origination for conventional loans here. I guess the closing costs, insurance, appraisal, taxes, the things that are normally going to be on the HUD one, when you refi. You're now in it, now all your costs, paying me off and your refi costs are $5,800. You're only asking for a loan of 61. The LTV of 75 gives you a net. You can refinance, no cash out, with no cash out of pocket. Oh, wait a second, that doesn't work. Because up here, we spent $7,000 in carrying costs. Right? So you're out $7,000. Holding rental property for $7,000, $100,000 house, not a bad deal, right? Really? Okay, well, what if we did something different? My maximum loan on that house is $7,000. My current loan is $55,200. You know what? Forget that. What would make my maximum loan amount? $24,800. Got it. So now your current loan on that house right now is $70,000. You got way more money in escrow than you're going to spend. You got more money in escrow than I'm going to give you too. However, let's scroll down the screen. That changes. Now you pay off $70,000 with me. Your cost to refinance, and again, assuming those costs are right, check locally, make sure. Assuming those costs are right, your cost is $5,800. Your new total cost is $75,800. Your maximum LTV is 75% on a no cash out refi. You have to bring $800 to close. We can all come up with $800, right? Say yes. Okay. 3 of you can. Great. I guess nobody's buying me dinner tonight except you 3. But we only spent $10,000 to fix it up to this. The bank is not going to ask me for your escrow statement. When they go to refinance, they're going to ask me for a payoff. 2 totally separate items. I'm going to issue a payoff. $70,000 plus per diem, so any interest accrues until they get around to closing it. They're going to write the loan with a principal payoff of $70,000. You've only spent $10,000. I own $14,800 of your money. What happens to it when I receive the payoff? Okay. I have to give it back to you. It's your escrow. I don't own it. I'm a caretaker of it. It's securing my debt position. I don't have a debt position anymore. The bank just paid me off. What happens, though, is you pay interest on that $14,000 for however long it takes you to do the project. So you're paying about $600 in interest, maybe. Probably a lot less than that. Yeah, a lot less than that, about $16 a day. You're getting $14,800 back. Your cost to do it is now $8,700. You're netting somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 liquid in the transaction. So let's pretend it cost you $500. Now you only net $4,500. You got the rental property and you have nothing in it. Is that better? Understanding the strategies of what banks will do and what lenders will do and everything has a great effect on what you're able to do. So that's why I want to go back. I don't want you to know all this stuff. I want you to tell me what you're doing. When you call me, tell me what you want. because that will allow me to help you, right? So that's a strategy. I've got a few more that I'm not going to share with you tonight, so you have to come see me some other night. Oh, I wish there was a way to stop that. Was there any questions on structure? Wow. Right group. Did you know it before? Wow. It's working, right? Okay. What's that?
So I do have a question about what you just ran through. So
Yeah.
On a rehab and the whole terminal, we're not going to do the improvements to level it and do the resale. I'm only doing 50% of it.
You'll get a shrinkage in your ARV. But the ARV really isn't super important. The only reason the value matters at all at that point is to calculate the relend from the bank. And that's a bigger mystery than us trying to figure out values, is how they figure out values. So you will get a hit, but you're also getting credit for income because you're renting it. So there's a lot of variables in that. I will not pretend to know how a bank thinks. The other thing, I already kind of did that. Finish, proceed. Power team, just real quick. Sorry. How many of you have done the mentorships, the coaching? One or two of you. David, did you?
I did.
Nice.
Some time ago.
Sweet. Well, you're not that old. How could it be that long ago?
It's a mystery.
He asked me to say that earlier. In there, they always refer to the power team. You've heard it? It's corny, I know, but they like things that kind of stick in your mind. Power team is people that you need to work with. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. They involve a lot of people. When you go out, and I've seen people do that at REI clubs, brand new investor walks in and you say, oh, hey, I'm a realtor. Great, I want to work with you. You're on my team. That's not how you interview. Okay. Your realtor, because I was at the A in there, which I get corrected all the time, realtor, your hard money lender, your appraiser, your contractor, anybody else that has a big value add needs to be the best you can find. Not the cheapest. If you have to have heart surgery, are you going looking for a coupon? Money, to me, it's right beside my heart. I'm not looking for a coupon on that either. The more you can surround yourself with experts, the more chance you have for success. David wasn't lying in the networking. We learn from each other. We help each other. Your team is critical. And more so, all the experienced people always get to the point where, yeah, I can do this. I got it. I know experienced people that have forgot more than they remember because they get in a comfortable mode. Always work with professionals. The other side of it is they have to be part of your team. I noticed this, and again, I don't want to pick on contractors. I have some great friends that are that way, that are contractors. That are that way? I don't know what that meant. But you can get a contractor bid and know if they want to work with you. You get 2 for $40 and 1 for $95. Guy doesn't want to work with you, right? I want that contractor to make money. I want my realtors to make money. To give you a true statement from me, I as a lender want you to make money when you borrow from me. It keeps you coming back and in the business. I always want my other members to make money and everybody that I'm associated with, but I want them to make money with me, not off me. I don't want to bleed so they can be successful. So I look for people that are as committed to making me money as I am to making them money, and then it becomes a very mutually beneficial relationship. Okay? I would suggest you do that. I'm going to try to go quickly. Credibility. Is Kansas City a giant market? You have 10,000 real estate investors here? No? 5,000? 500? 500 is a number. You think 500 people talk? There's how many people in this room? What, 60? No, more than that probably. The waves the other day, there were 57. A couple other groups I've been to, same numbers. We have a networking session. I heard tonight from somebody here that they did a deal with somebody I know somewhere, and they had to hire an attorney because they felt cheated. There's no connection to that person in this group. It's a small community of people. We share data. Your business is going to be what you are as a person, your ethics, your credibility, everything about you. If you cheat somebody, if I cheat, Carrie, tomorrow, if you come to me for a loan, first of all, do it. Secondly, if I say yes, I'm going to do that, I'll fund it, and we go along for 2 weeks, and you're ready to close, and you call me, and I go, oh, I can't do that. A, you lost money. B, we'll point it this way, you lost credibility. And that's what you're doing to me. We have to live up to a certain standard because she's going to 4 groups. By the time she leaves here tonight, everybody in this room knows I failed. And it doesn't matter why I failed. I didn't do what I said. If you start doing that with contractors, some of the mentoring groups, the mentors, the coaches, the gurus, some of them are really great. I have a lot of friends that are like that, and I know some others. One of their training models is, get done with training, go back, call 50 realtors, tell them you're a new investor, you're working with me, you want this, you want this, you want this, and they'll just go pull all these comps, they'll do all this work, and they'll drive out to meet you whenever you want, they'll buy you lunch, and they'll become your girlfriend, I don't know. But that's not true. That's using a person. You get off the phone with that realtor, every other realtor in the office knows it. If you call an appraiser and say, I'm going to use you on every deal I have, I need you to pull values for me, help me, and you do that 10 times and never give them a deal, on the 11th call, are they going to get wise? And they told all their friends too. And appraisers are friends with appraisers, as investors are. Everything you do in this is about how you treat people and what you do. It's very important not to play real estate. It's very important to be a doer. I had great relations. So a gentleman asked me earlier, when I was doing a lot of fiction flips, he said, where'd you get the deals? I said, HUD. He goes, oh. I got the HUD directly from the HUD agent. I didn't go to the home store. I didn't go out and have an agent calling an agent, looking at an MLS and doing all this other stuff. I did at the beginning. It was painful. But every time I got a contract accepted through HUD, as long as it wasn't going to be a loss, if I broke even, I was happy. I never changed the price, and I always hit my closing date. Within a year, my phone would ring. It would be the HUD agent saying, I've got this property going on tomorrow. Would you like it? Yeah, the right price. I like everything. And I would get access before HUD properties ever hit MLS. Because that person knew that if I promised to buy it, I wasn't one of those players. I was a doer. That works in every market. I'm not going to say you're going to get into a HUD agent, but every aspect of your business, that kind of a relationship will help you be tremendously successful. I mean, if you're a wholesaler, any wholesalers? Wow, a few of you. Okay. Marcus? Oh, I didn't know that. Marcus, you get paid. If you don't agree, you haven't done one yet. Always costs more than expected? Agreed? Is it better? It's, in my opinion, I won't say this is a rule, plan for worst case. Better is always better. It's not going to offend me if I make 20 and I only thought I was going to make 15. Time equals money. I have a couple that are It's funny because their names are Brian and Michelle, not those two. They're friends of mine. They actually invested their money with me, so they're one of my shareholders. They decided they were going to do a property flip. They borrowed money from me. They basically borrowed their own money, so figure that one out. They bought the house. I called them about a month later. I said, how's it going? And they're like, well, we're trying to figure it out. I don't know what the hell that means. So I'm talking to them, and they said, well, yeah, we're trying to figure out what color we want to paint the walls. We still have to kind of figure out what we're going to do with landscape. This is a month. Figure out landscape. Well, we got to find a contractor. That was enough. I'm like, darling, tomorrow, this was Saturday, it was going to be a Saturday. I said, tomorrow, 10 a.m., meet me at the house. So her and Brian got to the house. I met him there. They didn't take the lockbox off the door in 30 days. I said, okay, call your contractor. Well, we told you we don't have one. I said, okay. I called mine. And he was with Stanley. I called him. And I do a lot of deals with this guy. He makes his living off me, so he's willing to do me a favor. I said, get your ass over to blah, 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 now. He's like, okay. Because, again, he makes money off me, and he also knows I'm kind of like that. And so he comes over, and I said, okay, when he gets here, we're going to do a scope of work. And we walk through, she goes, I don't know what we're going to do. I said, okay, I'll tell you. And we walk through the house, and this, carpet, this, you're going to paint the same color you paint mine, this is the same carpeting, these are the same pictures. Blah, 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 blah. We spent an hour, went through everything. We walked into the living room, and I said, hey, how much is that going to cost? And he told me, and it was well within range. I said, okay. I said, how long is it going to take? And he gave me a number, and I changed that number. I told him 3 weeks. If he wanted slightly more time, I said, so you got 3 weeks, right? He said, okay. And he goes, okay. Because he also knows when I give him the timeline, if he hits it, I pay him more. It's worth it to him. And the next day on Sunday, he had his crews there tearing it out. That month cost him $1,000 in all costs for doing nothing with it. This is not, now the other side of it is, it also cost him in sales time. Would you agree that different times of the year, properties move quicker or slower? A month is a big difference in that calculation. Net effect, it cost him more than $1,000. So you've got to move a lot faster. Oh, this is me. Finished is finished. Have you ever finished a project, paid your contractor, and you went home, and you start going through the house and going, huh, I'll call him to fix that. Oh, what the heck? Yeah, he'll fix that. And by the time you're done, you have a 27-line item punch list. Finished is finished. When I say finished, I mean the cleaner backing out with the vacuum. The other side of this, if you pay a contractor, they're on to the next job. Getting them back is not easy. Good ones will come back, but not now. One of our gals called me. She needed to do a draw request on, she was sending it in on Thursday of last week. My partner's on vacation. I said, if you get it into me no later than Thursday night, I'll come out and do the inspection. And she goes, you'll do it? I said, yeah, what the hell? So, Monday morning I get the draw for her. Think about what I just said. But because I love her and she's really close to me, I said, sure, I'll go out and do it. And as we're walking up to the door, she goes, tell me what you really think. Okay. First of all, don't ask that of me if you don't want it. We created 4 pages of punch list that weren't finished. And she goes, I don't know when we get them back, because I gave them their check. And I'm like, you never give a check until it's paid. So I just set the expectation with everybody. Finished is finished. All my contractors, don't ask me for a check until it's done. And I also figured out another thing about contractors. I had a crew originally early on. They wanted paid every Friday morning. What I found is if you give them the check at 10 a.m. Friday morning, they're not there the rest of the day. So I conveniently had meetings all day on Friday for as long as I worked with them, and the earliest I could get there was 6 p.m. Why? Because I know they'd work a little later to stay and wait for their check. You get to deal with that. Don't go into a project you can't afford. That's no fun. I mean, what do you want to do? Get 95% of the way through your rehab and all of a sudden run out of money and run into a surprise and just be stuck? Contingency planning, contingency savings. So that's all I got. I hope it helped. Oh, Joe?
What are your terms of the contract for the building? In other words, they probably want somebody up front.
I've heard of that. Yeah. I don't know about here.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I do not pay in advance. That's like that Popeye guy, I'll gladly pay Tuesday for a hamburger today. No. I mean, I want to work it. If they need supplies to do it, first of all, I always try to find contractors that are financially stable. That's hard, but I try. So they should be able to float their job if I pay them on Friday. They should be able to work 5 days with materials if I pay them on Friday. If they can't, I may go buy the materials and put them at the property. I mean, physically, we would buy it and put it there. I would not have them go buy it and me reimburse them. Put them there and let them work off that. But I definitely wouldn't pay labor in advance. So, but some of them do. My feeling goes kind of with the finished project. When it's finished, you get paid. There have been instances that a contractor will take your deposit and disappear. Not here, but it happens. I don't do that. But you'll get people that ask, and it just depends on you. So, yes.
You do have to sign an agreement with the contractor with a list of things that they're going to do, the house.
Scope of work.
All of that.
Yep, scope of work.
Both parties, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it goes back to the scope of work, and I always detail everything. And I detail how I'm paying, so that there's no ambiguity there. Basically no mistakes, no misunderstanding, no hurt feelings.
Dates, they'll be paid on dates.
Yeah, Friday afternoon at 6 o'clock.
I want their W-9.
Well, now, there's an interesting comment. Anybody know the IRS changed the guidelines on 1099 issuance? Now, as an entity, this is U.S., this is not state, as an entity, anybody you pay, company or not, it used to be just direct, you have to issue a 1099. If that company fails to pay taxes on that, guess who gets to do it? You. Having that 1099, you're filing with the IRS saying you did your part. Right? That's new. That came in end of last year, wasn't it?
No. W-9s and 1099s have been around for years. The benchmark was $600.
Right. But I mean, now it's, but it wasn't everybody.
Oh, no, I've been doing it since the 80s.
Oh, you've been doing it. Now it's required. I never did it. I always did it just
It's been
1099.
required for years, and I can't tell you how many contractors didn't want to do any work. When I gave them the W-9, I said, great, you don't have to work for me. Because I knew the consequences back then.
People are funding. They'd rather give up money than pay taxes.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, if you're going to make more money, you're going to probably pay more taxes, albeit you can play with that, but still, why are you going to rob from the schools, or the hospitals, or the roads?
Everybody's unique in that manner.
But still,
Yes,
no.
I have lien waivers done as I make payments. Does everybody know what a lien waiver is? It's really an unenforceable document you do that if you have to go to court, you have some paperwork. A lien waiver is a legal document signed by the contractor that says work performed at this address, this legal address, as of this date was performed for the amount of X, which I received from the owner. And basically, therefore, I promise not to file a lien. And they sign and they have it notarized. And there's more to it, but that's the 30-second version. The idea behind it is if you make a contractor mad, they can go file a lien. They don't need your permission. So in order to get that lien off the property, You either have to pay him and satisfy it, or successfully argue it and have the court take it off. A lien waiver simply assists in getting that taken off. There's no guarantee it works, by the way, but it's a tool.
But you can, when you write up your contract with your contractor, you can put a penalty again, and if they sign that, for instance, you say, okay, you'll have a $10,000 fine if you file a lien. You can put that in the contract. If he signs it, that will work in court.
No, it won't. Because if you didn't pay him, all he has to do is say you didn't pay him and he's out of that because the condition of that penalty was you paid him. Then it becomes an argument. Even if that does work, you still have to get the court to order the lien removed.
You can also stamp the last check that you did.
I have those stamps. We did both. The check actually had, it was funny because the stamp was this big on the back of the check. And it was basically a lien waiver. Here, I hereby certify that all bills have been paid, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to do it. Joe?
What about lien waivers for yourself, the contract?
That's what we were just talking about. I think. Weren't we just talking about that?
Cash checks.
I'm sorry?
Cash checks.
That helps, but so they cash a check for $700. And they go, well, yeah, you owe me $900. Okay, reduce the lien to $200.
That's within the contract. Within the contract. They ask you to pay that much.
Okay, so here, let me ask you this. It takes you 5 minutes to fill this out. It gives you added protection. What's the big deal? Protection is good. Yeah, you can shortcut it and do all this other stuff. But from people that have done it, and a lot of people here evidently know about it, it's sage advice to protect yourself. Anything else? Thank you very much.